Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Take the Lead by Jaqueline Snowe, narrated by Louise Brenner and Alex Mortensen. Chapter 1. Daniella. There were perks and downsides of having red hair. The color was beautiful, and people complimented me on it all the time. There were red-haired scholarships I'd applied for and received, and there was a small amount of the world's population that had natural red hair. That was cool. I liked being unique. Especially in the beauty pageant world my dear mother grew up in, and never let me forget. The downside was my inability to hide my blush whenever I felt any emotion. It didn't matter if it was embarrassment, sadness, or guilt. My cheeks turned redder than a fire engine, and it didn't stop there. Pink covered my neck, shoulders, and chest, to the point it looked like I had an allergic reaction. My face flamed worse than a candle, and I tried to force a tight smile as my teammate narrowed her eyes at me. "Stop worrying so much," I said. Almost everyone I know is excited to go home for a few days. Family, food, football. Your knuckles are white on your bag strap, Danny. Cammy Simpson jutted her chin toward my hands and clicked her tongue. What's going on? We stood outside the recreation center, right next to the football stadium. It was a central point of campus, and the easiest spot I could come up with for Van to pick me up. Cammy insisted on walking with me and waiting for my ride. Something about girl code. I'd once thought Cammy Simpson was a self-centered drama queen, and I'd been so incredibly wrong. Through a weird twist of dramatic events, we were named co-captains, and she was now one of my best friends and my fierce protector. For someone who never had a sibling growing up, it was how I'd always envisioned one. She had claws that came out when I was upset, and as much as I loved her for it, it felt stupid to share my insecurity with her. My mom. I was in college. I shouldn't have mother issues. I rolled my shoulders back, and unease rooted me to the spot as I lied. I'm just looking forward to being away from campus for a bit. Yeah. Is it Van Helsing? She eyed the street outside the stadium where he would be arriving in a few minutes. Cammy hung around until he arrived, like a hovering parent, but I would have preferred to wait in peace. It was the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and most of the students had already left town. Since Cammy's dad and boyfriend lived here, she'd be staying. It was wild how quiet everything was with so many students going home. I liked it that way. Less crowds, less pressure to fit in and be someone. Van? No. I frowned. Van was by far the best part about going home. Well, seeing his sister, my best friend Elle, and their family was my favorite. They were the siblings I had always wanted, which caused the same roller coaster of guilt to spin around my stomach. I'm excited to hang out with him for a few hours. Then for real. I've seen you face a linebacker head-on during a drinking game without a speck of fear, but now you look nervous. I'm really persistent if you don't know. I refuse to call myself annoying, so unless you tell me, it's my mom, all right? God, my face burned hotter than a Midwestern sun in July. We're problematic. Girl, if you want to swap stories of difficult mothers, you should have asked. She laughed and squeezed my forearm, her bright orange nails sticking out against my pale, freckled-covered skin. I haven't seen mine in 6 months, and she lives in town. She has 2 twin toddlers now, which I'm sure is wild, but seriously. She paused, her tone lowering into a more thoughtful one. If you're worried about seeming weird or immature for having issues with your parents, don't. Relationships are hard as fuck, and it's okay to be complicated. My eyes prickled with emotion, and I yanked Cammy into a hug. She smelled like vanilla and cookies, and I didn't care that she wasn't used to my embraces yet. I was a hugger, a toucher. Sure, my mom wasn't in the slightest, but my dad? Yeah. We embraced like it was an Olympic sport. Even though my parents were still together, we somehow never talked about my mom. It was the elephant in the room. Cammy groaned as I squeezed around her middle, but I didn't let go. "I love you," I said, my voice muffled into her shirt. "Well, shit." She laughed against me, pulling back a bit, and a slight pink dusted her cheeks. "I feel like I should tell you things are intense with Freddie." I rolled my eyes and shoved her away, not so discreetly wiping under my eyes. Much to my mom's dismay, I also showed my feelings. A lot. Good, bad, happy, sad. I was a walking emotion thesaurus, and I knew the second I stepped foot in our house, I'd have to pretend to be someone I wasn't. I was an embarrassment to her. Single, not in her realm of beauty, and not the daughter she wanted. My mom prided herself on her looks, an ability to get an MRS degree in college by landing my super successful dad. Yeah, I grew up constantly being asked about why I wasn't dating the most popular, driven, handsome boy in school. She'd scope out guys good enough for her and set me up on these horrible dates as bribery. If I wanted a car at 16, I'd agree to go out with her rich doctor friend's son, while my dad laughed it off. It annoyed me that he always sided with her, so to survive, I lowered my expectations of him, even though it made my insides twinge. He was a good father. He just loved his wife more than me. Why else would he never speak up? The string of dates was endless embarrassment, my mom pushing me to be someone I wasn't. Every date made me feel worse, and here I was, 20 years old and having fun at school, while worrying myself sick about going home for a weekend. A freaking weekend. God, I hated myself sometimes. "Hey." Cammy squinted down the road where a large black truck shone its headlights at us and brought me back to the present. The wind had a chill, and my nose stung from the temperature. No other reason. "I love you too, okay? We're friends to the end, and when you get back, we'll get wine and cry. Well, you can cry. I'll pat your back or something. We can talk about it or not, but you're not alone." "Careful, Cammy," I teased, my smile stretching across my face. She had no idea what her support meant to me. None. Gratitude, love, loyalty burst through me. There was nothing I wouldn't do for her. "You're turning into a really good friend." "Fuck off, Dani." She grinned at me just as Gabriel Van Helsing, captain of the Central State hockey team, parked his truck. She whistled. "Do the rest of the girls realize you two are close?" "No, and for a reason." Her eyebrows rose, but she didn't say a word. She got it. A lot of girls on the team preferred dating athletes. It was common, and while I loved being co-captain with Cammy, I didn't have the same level of trust with all the girls. I was a transfer, so I didn't know them super well. They did try to mutiny me for the first 2 months when I was captain. I let it go for the most part, but them learning about my 10-year friendship with Van? No way. For 2 reasons. He was a player, and I couldn't handle him hurting my teammates. But the bigger one was protecting him. A secret, never admitted out loud one, would be because of my crush on him. But that lived in the back of my mind. It made me feel foolish to think anything would ever come of it. Then guilt followed. I couldn't ever do anything about my crush on my best friend's brother. It was a rule. Call me any time. Cammy waved at Van as she walked around the front of the truck. Hey, Van Helsing. Simpson? He jutted his chin out toward her, before glancing at me with the same goofy smile I'd known since I was 10. One dimple popped out on his left cheek, the only part of him that could be described as adorable. The rest of him was all thick muscles and dark hair and hard lines. D, you make the playlist? His deep voice comforted me as much as it sent a ripple of awareness from my head to my toes. He was so hot. I held up my fingers. I'm good for 3 things, Van. Playlists, dance moves, and emergency snacks. Of course I made a playlist. I rolled my eyes as he picked up my suitcase and tossed it in the back with just one hand. He wore a navy dry-fit long-sleeve shirt that hugged every part of his massive arms, and I glanced once. Okay, twice. He was fit, gorgeous, and always smelled like he'd just gotten out of the shower. Rainforest and soap. I didn't harbor an aggressive crush on him anymore. It was way worse in high school when I saw him all the time. Here, I could play it cool and only thought about him in my deep fantasies. So it was safe to admire him, objectively. The dark black hair that always looked like he ran a hand through it. The jawline sharp enough to cut through the windshield of a semi. Plus, his size. All 6 feet of him with the muscles and the abs. Yeah, he was attractive. Gabe was hot as shit, and nice. It was the kindness that had me writing Mrs. Van Helsing in my notebooks, though. Ah, shit, D. You're all red. He grinned, my damn blush one of his favorite things to tease me about. Thinking about snacks again? Shut up. I scoffed and waved goodbye to Cammy one more time before getting into the passenger seat. She winked. A wave of gratitude washed over me as I watched her walk away. She was a precious and surprise gift of a friend. Transferring here as a sophomore had made me all sorts of nervous, but becoming her friend was game-changing. She hadn't had it easy, and maybe I could confide in her when I got back. Even if she told me I was a horrible daughter, it'd be better to hear it from someone else instead of my own mind. My phone buzzed as Van pulled onto the main road. 2 hours until we were in our hometown suburb of Chicago. 2 hours to prepare for my mom. Ugh. Speaking of her... Mom. I bought you 2 dresses that actually complement your hair and skin tone for our outing tomorrow. Set up manis and petties after lunch, so don't make plans. Elle can come if she wants. The beauty regime of Lily Lee Laughlin, former beauty queen and trophy wife, took hours. A blowout, a spray tan, nails, makeup. I was a fucking dancer and loved getting dolled up for school spirit. It was fun with music and the right people. But with her, it was her chance to make me fit the mold she wanted. Chewing on your nail a little hard there. You all right? Van asked as he turned on his signal to enter the highway. Everything was so him in here. All black leather and an air freshener that didn't really cover up the smell of his hockey gear in the back seat. It was honestly a miracle that he was able to drive me home with their schedule, but he didn't have to play until Friday after the holiday, so thankfully, I was going to try and weasel a ride back with him. But what I hoped for, a playful car ride back to distract me from my dear mother, would be shot to hell if he picked up on my mood. The handsome bastard was too perceptive for his own good. It made sense, though. He was the team captain for a reason. Always up for a good time, a great teammate, and sympathetic. I sighed and leaned back into the seat. Just my mom. Uh-oh. What did the lovely Lily Laughlin do now? I snorted. Elle and I started referring to her as the lovely Lily Laughlin when she got all wacko with everything. It was a way for me to cope with her passive-aggressive and straightforward insults about who I was as a person. Elle and I would laugh and talk in a British accent. "And how do you know about the lovely Lily?" "First, Elle is loud as fuck, and her idea of whispering is shouting instead of screaming. Second, you basically grew up in our house. I wasn't just some pretty dumb jock. I listened to you when you were upset." "Aw, Van, if only all your lady fans knew how soft you were." I reached over and poked his side, making him yelp like a chihuahua. "They have no idea you're not the big badass they think you are." "Settle down there, woman. I am big and badass. Never forget that. Plus, don't get me started on my fangirls." He sucked in a breath, and his shoulders tensed. Even his grip on the wheel tightened for a beat before he slid me a look. The half-smile didn't quite reach his eyes. "This might ruin my rep, but I'm ready to settle down all the... what did you and Elle call them? Fling-flings?" I barked out a laugh. What a stupid yet accurate name. "We're idiots." "Without question." "But do you hear yourself? No more flinging, no more flanging?" A spark of hope rooted in my gut, deep and low. No more flings? He was always off limits because of Elle, but also, I knew I wanted more than a fling. The tiny flame of what if had no business being in the car, and I extinguished it. He had to be joking. He cracked the knuckles of his left hand before shifting in his seat. "Nah, just focusing on the team right now. Some of the guys are acting like morons. Plus, we have this fucking sophomore I want to punch in the face every second of every day, and so what does coach do? Name him alternate captain. It's like he's trying to cause me to go gray. Look at this luscious hair. I can't go gray yet. I'll rock the salt and pepper look later, but at 22, ugh." Van had the unique ability to be humble and ridiculous at the same time. To hear him openly admit a struggle with another player, this was huge. "Obviously, you'd be the best-looking gray-haired 22-year-old ever." "Yeah, no shit. I'm aware, D." He waved his hands in the air. The gesture made me laugh, and just like he and Elle had done my entire life, all negative thoughts of my mom went out the window. They were mood boosters. "Well, I just went through a weird captain issue with the dance team, so if you want to talk about it, for real, I'm here." He glanced at me for a second, his light brown eyes softening as the side of his mouth curved up in a genuine Van smile, the one that I knew meant he always had my back. "You text me when you need an escape from lovely Lily, and it's a date." A date? We both understood that word didn't mean a date, like two people who had feelings for each other and were trying it out. He meant like a scheduled meeting between two people who'd known each other for decades. It was silly and absurd how my skin tingled just a bit, picturing what it would even be like to date Gabriel Van Helsing. He'd totally take charge and place his large hand on the base of my back. He'd be polite and kind, and damn well show me a good time in the bedroom. I was sure of it. I heard all the talk and might have fantasized about it once or a million different times. Shit! My blush prickled along my neck, and I shifted in my seat, cracking the window a half an inch to cool the hell down. My skin felt too tight for my body, like the heater was on super high. My thighs squeezed together as I fanned my face. Thank God Van turned up the volume of my Holiday Mix 3.0, and Megan Thee Stallion blasted through the speakers. I had no excuse thinking for even a moment what dating Van would be like. No sense at all, because a guy like him and a girl like me, well, We just didn't fit. He was popular, handsome without trying. He could date the most eligible woman alive without issue. He didn't get laughed at on dates because his mom didn't set him up on them, but mainly, he was confident, and I was not. There were parts of myself I liked, but not many. So, yeah, Gabe would never go for a dork like me. Lovely Lily made that incredibly clear. God, only 2 more holidays with her, then I could stay on campus forever.
Chapter 2. Gabriel. Seeing my sister's best friend rap along with Cardi B was definitely the serotonin boost I needed. Daniella Laughlin was the perfect combination of ridiculous, talented, and goofy. So damned goofy. It was hard to remain grumpy about Cal Holt, about fucking Becca, about Christopher, who was probably sneaking steroids, or how Ty was partying a little too hard. All those thoughts went away when Daniella was so entertaining. She wasn't kidding about her talent of creating a playlist. I never told her, but I used them when I worked out. Her, Elle, and I all shared anything we made as an unspoken rule from our teenage years. But even now, Dani was a kick-ass DJ. With her dance skills and rhythm, it made sense she had superior taste. I hated how her mom gave her so much grief when Elle and I had lucked out in the best parents ever category. But we never could choose where we came from, just picked who we wanted to stay in our lives. Dani was one of those people for sure. All our kids would be best friends, guaranteed. The Van Helsings considered her one of us. I forgot to ask, are you heading straight to your house or ours? Selfishly, I wasn't ready to drop her off yet. My parents and Elle would ask me about the team, about being captain, about graduation and what's next, and when are you going to bring home a nice partner? And while I loved the hell out of them, I wanted to stay in the Daniella bubble a little longer. She knew me well enough that I could be myself, but didn't offer the pressures of my well-meaning family. Plus, she was a little red-haired ball of sunshine. She was cute in the little sister's best friend kind of way, because thinking any more would result in my sister physically harming me. I'd let her too. Dani was adorable and fun, and I loved her long red hair. But that was as far as I'd allow my brain to go. She eyed her phone. Fuck! My mom invited guests tonight who are looking forward to seeing me. She groaned and tossed her phone onto the floor. Then she made even a louder noise as she picked it back up. I guarantee Chad is an aspiring dentist who loves fly fishing and riding horses at sunset. Oh, and I bet Richard owns a yacht at the age of 21 and wears a Rolex and knows the Pope. My eyes twitched as her voice turned into a strange mixture of a Chicago accent and an Eastern European one, and she pursed her lips the entire time. So, Chad and Richard are dates 24 and 25 of lovely Lily's goal of marrying me off to a rich douchebag. Daniella huffed and crossed her arms over her baggy Central State sweatshirt. Every single visit I see her, if she's in town on campus or when I'm home, she plans these dinners against my will. I swear that woman created an online profile for me or something. I don't know how she finds all these guys. Seriously, I'm so fucking sick of being set up. I don't care that I'm single. I like it. And I don't need to date to be happy. She just doesn't get it. My chest tightened at the clear distress in her voice. Daniella rarely got mad. Sure, she blushed head to toe with every emotion she had, but anger, fist-clenching rants, nah, not D. My mom's been on me, too, about settling down. Well, yeah, with all your fling-flangs. That makes more sense than what lovely Lily is doing. She wants me to secure a diamond, a new last name, and a rich man, or I'm worthless. Me being me isn't enough. She spoke with conviction, like Daniella actually believed her value was dependent on those items. I clenched my jaw and took a breath before responding because what the fuck, Lily? D, you know that's bullshit. To normal people, yes, but not to my mom. She brought her knees up to her chest and wrapped her arms around them. She wore black leggings and orange socks that matched the little gems in her ears. I liked bright things on her. They went with her hair and personality. Have you told her you don't want to date these D-bags? 1,000,000 times, Van. I hate coming home. She hung her head and sniffed, a telltale sign she was about to cry. I reached over and squeezed her arm, letting my hand rest there a few beats. She was warm. She placed hers on top of mine and squeezed back. I love my dad, and I'm so thankful for having a privileged childhood. But this toxic BS with her, I'm over it. After New Year's this year, I'm done coming home, and I'm living at campus full-time. Then I can control when I have to hear her comments and deal with her dates because she doesn't listen to me. She ignores everything I say and still tries to change me. She let go of my hand, hung her head on her arms, and her shoulders trembled. God damn it. I was a sucker for tears. Elle could get whatever she wanted growing up if she cried. I hated when she was sad, and the same feeling transferred to Daniella. Must get them to stop. The sound of sniffles made my insides clench, and my heart raced as I thought of a solution. Help her, solve it, no more tears. Use me. The words left my mouth before the thought finished. And in the echoing silence, my brain pieced it together. We could pretend to date. My stomach swooped in the same way it did before a game. Excitement. Becca would leave me alone and put our drama in the past. It would help Daniella survive the holidays and stop crying. It'd get my mom to stop hounding me about settling down. It'd keep the puck bunnies away. It'd prevent distraction so I could actually focus on Cal and the team. Sure, we'd tell Elle the truth, but what were the cons? From now until New Year's Eve, I could do 6 weeks of it. I liked hanging out with Daniella. She was easygoing. D, seriously. I pulled over the truck in a McDonald's parking lot, carefully parking and undoing my seatbelt. She eyed me like I'd grown 3 heads and clucked like a chicken. Let's pretend to date until the new year. You and me dating? Her large blue eyes were the size of pizzas, and her mouth hung open. What? Pretending to date. Yes, hear me out. I spun in my seat and took her hands in mine. I hate seeing you cry. You know this, and I blurted out the first thing that came to mind. But it could work. You and me? She removed herself from my grip. Yes, in this scenario, I'm specifically talking about you and me. I grinned, aware of her fire-red blush spreading across her entire face and neck. It'd get your mom off your back, right? I mean, yeah, she guffawed and blinked a few times, her eyes a lighter blue from the tears. They reminded me of sapphires. The more I digested...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?